Hi there everyone, it's Marc Laurenson here, and thanks for joining me as we look towards the sky for the month of February 2021. But before we do that, I just want to remind people who might be interested in learning astrology that the Sydney Astrology School course Level 1 is about to commence this month. So it starts on February the 6th, but you can still join us within the first week. If you're interested, go to our website. That's sydneyastrologyschool.com. That's Sydney, SYDNEY, and all the information about enrolling is there. If you do want to join us, but now is not the best time, then we do have another intake in July. So we have intakes in July and February of every year. Now, this is an online international course. The webinars are taught by me every week, and I teach people from all over the world, which is really, really exciting. So let's get stuck into what we're going to be talking about for February. But this is not just for February, everyone, because the aspect between two planets that I'm going to be talking about is pretty much going to be going on all year. And the two planets in question are the planet Uranus and the planet Saturn, two of the big guns that are going to be in square aspect. And square aspect is what we might call a challenging aspect for the bulk of the year, on and off for the bulk of the year. So let's have a look at what that means, what that's all about. So what I've got here, everybody, is I've got some keywords for each of the planets to get into the feel of what we're going to be discussing energetically. And so here we have the Saturn keywords on the left-hand side. So we're looking at mastery. Saturn is the planet of mastery. That's my favorite Saturn word. So wherever Saturn is in your chart, in your natal chart, that's where you have to master, basically. Now we have responsibility, discipline, and application. These words we don't really like, do we? We kind of have a push away, pull back kind of reaction to those words. And Saturn is all about that, and we need to be able to bring these into our lives in a healthy way so we can actually get our lives in some kind of working order. We need this. Authority is a big Saturn word, and Saturn is trying to teach us this, to be the author of our own lives, to take authority in our own lives. And if we don't do this, what happens is that life and the people in it start to take authority of us. And you see this happen a lot in our lives. Achievement, the builder, constructor, these are good, more positive Saturn words. Commitment, we have to commit. Hard work, boundaries, limitation, these are words that give Saturn a bad rap, don't they? Especially the ancients didn't like Saturn at all because of what was happening here. But again, you know, if we use these words productively, and we use these this way of being to keep us on track, so to speak, and to live within the boundaries of what we need for our mission, that is Saturn stuff. Focus, time. Saturn is Kronos, the father of time. So everything with Saturn is enduring. Got endurance down there. Stamina is definitely something you will need with Saturn. So let's look at Uranus. Let's look at what's happening here, because Saturn and Uranus are in square aspect. And square aspect means that the two planets are rubbing up against each other. There is friction between them. And the only reason there is friction between them is something's got to give. If you're looking at squared planets in your chart, these planets do not let you go until you do something about them. That's the that's the aggravation they cause with each other. So you really do have to jump the hurdle, so to speak, or to get over it, or to get past it, or to transcend it, or to transform from it, depending on what planets are involved. And so what's going on here between Saturn and Uranus is something very, very similar. And we're all experiencing this together, so to speak. Some of us more than others, of course, which I'll get into in a minute. Uranus, the planet of freedom. Now, this is not just freedom on the level of being able to do what you want when you want to do it. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of that involved. But this is more like the freedom of being able to be 100% authentically who you are, you know, the freedom of being able to express your individuality and your uniqueness. And this is challenging for us, you know, as humans, because we always try to fit in, or we always need to be liked. And Uranus kind of stretches that. The awakener, Uranus opens your eyes, particularly to new things. Evolution and revolution are very Uranian words. Again, moving things forward and changing things. Invention is a good Uranian word, as far as coming up with new ideas. Authenticity, I love authenticity for Uranus, because it really goes down that road of being real, and not having to kowtow, or not having to fake it. Innovation, it spins off invention. Originality, uniqueness, as I mentioned earlier on, to come into a place of being totally your own person. And if you are different, so be it. It's about celebrating that. The mover shaker, this is very, very Uranian on the level of, you know, rattling a cage, or feeling that the ground is moving from underneath you. There is always that need to move forward with Uranus. There's always a need to evolve you. The rebel, the outsider. Now, this is important stuff, because I believe that we all need to have a little bit of this in our lives, because there is so much that's trying to restrain us and restrict us, that we need to be able to break out, so to speak. And we can actually do this in a very, very positive and productive way. The innovator. Now, I've got that written down twice, haven't I? Maybe there's something in that, you know, that needs to be underscored. The change agent, the rule breaker. The rule breaker, again, I'm not talking about the criminal activities. I'm talking about you being able to stretch outside the boundaries and not necessarily be told to be what you're not, you know, that kind of thing. To be totally yourself and color outside the lines. The genius. Now, this goes down the road of the inventor and the revolutionary, you know, people who think above and beyond, okay? So these two planets are the ones that are rubbing up against each other. And as you can see, they're very, very, very different by design. Can't you see their energies and their natures? And they're trying to teach us very, very different things. But we're going to be having to deal with what that means as they go into challenging aspect with each other for the bulk of the year. Okay, so these are the exact square dates, everybody. But before I talk about that, I just want to let you all know, a lot of you know this already, that this is happening in the signs of Taurus and Aquarius, okay? So Saturn is in Aquarius now, and Uranus has been in Taurus for quite a while. So there's the square between two fixed signs, Uranus in Taurus and Aquarius in, Uranus in Taurus and Saturn in Aquarius, okay? So we've got a feeling of the energies of those two fixed signs to look at as well. So they come into exact square on February 17, 18 this month. 18 here in Australia and 17 in other parts of the world, at 7 degrees 14 minutes of Aquarius Taurus. Okay. Then they come to exact conjunction again in June 1415 at 13 degrees and 6:06 minutes of Aquarius Taurus. And then again on Christmas Eve, December 24, at 11 degrees 03 minutes of Aries Taurus, we get another hit of it much further down the track in October of 22, early October of 22 at 18 degrees. Now they're roughly within 2 degrees from each other, from the square to each other, all the way from late January all the way to early July. So you can see how tight this square is. They open out a little bit more in the second half of the year, but then again, of course, come together quite exactly at Christmas Eve. Now, any planets that you have in your natal charts that are an aspect to Uranus and Saturn are going to be feeling this energy, this particular energy, very, very strongly. And so you will have to understand what's being taught to you if you have planets, not only in those degrees of Taurus and Aquarius, but also the other two fixed signs are going to feel it as well. So you're going to be looking at planets in Scorpio and Leo around those degrees. So if you have planets in those degrees, pay extra attention to them, the houses that they're in, of course, and try your best, not only to understand it, but try your best to infiltrate, to integrate this energy that I'm going to be talking about into your life in a positive way, in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so Saturn and Uranus have a cycle with each other, a synodic cycle with each other, very similar to the moon and the sun. You know how the moon and the sun go through the new moon, the quarter moon, the full moon every month? Well, planets, two other planets in the sky go through the same thing. They have their new moon period when they are conjunct, and then they go through the quarters, and then they oppose each other and come back to a quarter again, and then come back to each other again. For Saturn and Uranus, it takes approximately 44 to 45 years to do that. Saturn is the faster moving planet of the two, and so Saturn is going to be like the moon, and Uranus is going to be like the sun. And so it takes 45 years for Saturn to go right around and catch back up to Uranus again. So the conjunction of the synodic cycle we're in happened in 1988. Uranus and Saturn came into conjunction in 88, right at the very tail end of Sagittarius. Okay, so 88 was a very important year because this was the precursor to the disbanding or the breaking down of communism in Europe. The Berlin Wall came down in 89, so you can imagine the friction and the tension that was going on around this particular time, and the freedom and the liberation of breaking something down that has been limiting and restricting for so long. Okay, so the waxing square was in 99, 2000, okay, so millennium time. Saturn was in Taurus and Uranus was in Aquarius. Interesting how they swapped over at this time. And so 99-2000 was again the precursor to 9/11. Again, lots of unrest going on before that as well. Also, 2000 was a time, I don't know how many of you remember this, with Y2K. Remember Y2K? When everybody was very, very scared that everything technical was going to die, basically, because they thought everything was programmed to the 31st of December 1999, and after that things were going to explode. Of course, it didn't happen, but you know, the whole idea of that had people on edge. But I feel it was, I feel it has a lot to do with a lead up of sorts. The opposition between Saturn and Uranus, Saturn in Virgo, Uranus in Pisces, was in 2008, 2009. This was the global financial crisis time. Now, here is where we are now. We're in the waning square, everybody. 2021, 22. Saturn in Aquarius, Uranus in Taurus. We don't have to go into what's going on now. Everybody knows. And then it comes into the conjunction again with each other in 2032 in Gemini. Okay. So this is an Albert Einstein quote, and I think it sums up a lot of stuff around the Saturn Uranus square. Everything that is really great and inspiring is created by an individual who can labor in freedom. Labor in freedom. You get Saturn with the labor, and you get Uranus in freedom. Everything that is great and inspiring is created by an individual who can labor in freedom, meaning there's work to be done here. For our freedom, we have to work at it. I've got down the bottom here, true freedom is a mission, and we have to work at it. So there is something about us this particular year, and I'm going to be talking more on a personal level, everybody, because I am a client-centered astrologer. I'm much more of astrologer that likes to talk to people, rather than go down the road of talking about it communally or globally. Of course, it's going to affect us that way as well. But I want to talk about it to you guys, about it in your lives and in your charts. And so you're going to have to work this particular year around what freedom means to you. And you're going to have to put some kind of focus or application into making that happen for you. So what's it asking of us? Saturn square Uranus, what's it asking of us? Because when we're doing anything to do with forecasting work, it's not about prediction. It's more about what we're learning and the situations or the circumstances that we're experiencing are trying to teach us something. And so here with Saturn square Uranus, what is it asking of us? And so what I've got here is it's the need to dismantle or demolish outmoded behavior patterns that keep you fenced in, and to put work into rebuilding a stronger and more liberated sense of self. Now, this change is an evolutionary shift in order to return us to our authenticity and the unaffected expression of our true selves. Now, that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to strengthen us, and it's trying to rebuild us into more authentic, real, and free individuals. That's what's happening between these two planets. And so we are going to be in a position where things in our lives have to break down. They have to be demolished, so to speak. And I want to talk about, I've got here outmoded behavior patterns and, emotional attachments, things that are keeping you stuck, things that keep you from moving forward, things that keep you restricted and limited and scared. It's about being able to put some kind of work into being able to identify what it is, number one, and then being able to break something free or break something open and then to rebuild it again. So everybody look at the houses that these two planets are transiting. And because the houses are going to give you the specifics, what areas of life is this going to happen in? And of course, if you've got planets that are also involved by aspect, definitely those planets are going to come into the picture in a big way as well. So what does your true self mean? You know, people say, you know, you say true self, I don't know what that means. Our true selves is underneath all our crap, basically. So I've got here, freedom is our birthright, everybody. It is our truth from the very core of our being. It's the universal expression within us all. Now, freedom is basically who we are, who we truly are. As humans, this awareness is taken from us as children. Now, we come in as, I feel we come in with a sense of understanding our freedom, you know, on a soul level, on a spirit level. But as soon as we're born, we have it taken from us by society, by our parents. We're told to fit in, you know what I mean? We're told to be like everybody else. Our uniqueness or our unusualness is never celebrated, never ever celebrated. So we're told from the word go not to be different. We're told to fit in, you know, and to be like everybody else. So therefore our freedom is taken from us at a very, very early age. Now, during our lives, it now becomes a big part of our evolutionary journey to get this back. And I believe that what's happening with Saturn Uranus has a lot to do with that. Now, during this transit, any patterns of behavior that allow anything or anyone to block this expression will now go through its own version of being cracked open. So this is going to happen. This will happen in some respect in our lives this year. This is an attempt at breaking free. It will then work at constructing itself in a stronger and more masterful way. So it's about liberating you, about you being able to crack something open that's been holding you back, liberating you and strengthening you at the same time. This aspect is akin to the biblical analogy of building a house on rock or a house on sand. You know, that whole idea of if you build a house on sand, it's going to get knocked down quite easily. Building a house on rock, whatever comes your way, you're going to be fine. And so something is going on that level of trying to teach us to and rebuild us into that. It is the resilience and unshakable energy in us all. Very Saturn stuff. Free from the damage or pressure of outside forces. Now this is our true self. This is our true self. Our true self is the true, unaffected, liberated, strong, free person who does not rely on anybody out there to tell it what to do. And this has a lot to do with us not needing approval or not needing attention or not needing anybody to give us a thumbs up. We need to be able to come into a place within ourselves where we're free enough and unique enough to be able to feel very, very secure and strong in our individuality. Now, we're talking about fixed earth and fixed air here, everybody. So fixed earth is Taurus, of course, and fixed air is Aquarius. So as we know about fixed, well, not all of us know, but people who know a little bit about astrology will know that fixed signs are the ones that are much more dug in. You know what I mean? They're the consolidators. The fixed signs right in the middle of the season. So they are stronger on that level of endurance, but they can actually be more challenging to shift as well. So Saturn and Uranus are both the rulers of Aquarius as well, Uranus being the modern ruler and Saturn being the traditional ruler. So the Aquarian energy in us all is going to be turned up a notch as well. So this will be a challenging transit. It will be challenging. But I love challenging transits on the level of what they are trying to teach us. I mean, some of the best things in my life, and my chart, my natal chart, is full of very, very challenging aspects. And I truly believe that they've been the best things in my life, and all my challenging transits have been things that have made me grow, have made me develop, and made me become better along the way. So this will be a challenging transit, and much will be asked of us on the level of taking personal responsibility with how we play it. Now, we have to take that one into consideration, because that is that's Saturn stuff. You know, taking personal and being accountable for how we're going to play this. There will be much self-discipline needed here, as it could feel a little bit like a struggle, because it's going to feel tough because of the square. Both for the force for change and our resistance to it will be great. We think we like change, but a lot of us don't. A lot of us don't. We like same old, even when it's not working for us. We'll hold on to it. You could actually feel more constrained before any breakthroughs actually take place or happen. So you might feel very frustrated by a lot of this year, very sort of pressurized or very chained in some way. But you know, that feeling is there for one reason, and that feeling is there for you to break free from. And so it'll make you feel that way, so you'll do something about it, in other words. It could feel like you're pulling up deeply embedded parts of your psyche by the roots. And you can feel the fixedness in that, can't you? Especially the Taurus fixedness, pulling something up by the roots. This could cause fear around being unearthed and being thrust into the new. So a lot of people are going to actually start to feel like they want to sort of white knuckle or cling on to something that they know isn't working for them. And people might actually put up with a lot of crap around this time, more than what they believe they deserve. But for some reason, they don't want to move past it. They don't want to change. They don't want to break open what's trying to happen. For people who are brave and committed to their evolutionary growth, which is us all, this transit could be life-altering in a positive way, with moving up another tier along your evolutionary path. Now, I'm hoping that people who are listening to this is going to take heed to what I've just said there, because there is something about us liberating ourselves and moving forward and becoming stronger and taking more authority with our authenticity, which is what's happening here. So if we can be aware of that as we go through what we go through, that's going to make all the difference. Now, here are some tips. I've written down some tips to help you along the way, particularly for the people who've got really this transit is really hitting their chart in quite a powerful way. I think this could be quite handy for people to know. Now, be willing and open to demolish the old and conservative and to rebuild the new and inventive, everybody. This is so important. Stuff in our lives that have been around for a long time, that has done its dash, that's not giving you anything anymore, that actually feels like it's holding you back more than moving you forward. It's time to let it go. You know, it's time to move past it. And it might feel a little bit like something is happening in your life where the change is happening beyond your choices, so to speak. But I want you to be very conscious of that we have choice in everything that's going on in our lives all the time. So rather than feeling that life is changing underneath you, actually become more involved in the Saturn part of it, where you actually master the change, or you actually become the driver of the change, if you know what I mean. You be in the driver's seat of the change and make the choices necessary for your changes in a positive way, rather than allowing circumstances or situations to come into your life and shake you up, if you know what I mean. Be in the driver's seat of this. Become accountable for where you can change and where you won't. This is really important stuff, because so many of us are pointing fingers at why things aren't moving in our lives, or why we're stuck in a rut or whatever. Become accountable for where you won't change. Some people are in a bad situation or a difficult situation and don't want to move out of it. They don't want to move out of it because there's something about it that's secure, or there's something about it where there's love, or whatever, and they're too scared to risk that. They're too scared to risk that, and so they won't change. So if you're going through difficult circumstances, be very conscious of what you can and what you won't, okay? Evolve by giving your freedom a path or a mission, as opposed to being a frustrated rebel without a cause. You might feel that frustrated feeling within you. Something's got to give, something's got to change. And you know what I mean? It can come out in very indirect ways. It can come out in ways where it's kind of a little bit like a bag of firecrackers just going off for no reason, if you know what I mean. So give your change a path, give it a reason, give a reason, put a reason behind you changing. That's going to be really important. Build grounded, solid and tangible forms from which to mount any new ideas, ventures or future vision. This brings in the Taurus element as well, because I feel if you can actually, the stuff that you want to change or bring in new stuff into your life, new ideas, all that kind of stuff, make them tangible, make them solid, and maybe it's something you can point at, make it more, maybe even material, do something with it in a hands-on, earthy, practical, much more usable kind of way. I think that's a really, really good way of being able to handle this particular aspect as well. Take responsibility for your personal freedom. You have signed a cosmic contract that cannot be honored unless you allow yourself the room to move. So you've got to take responsibility for how free you are in this life, really and truly. And you've got to allow yourself you've got to allow yourself space to be able to explore what this is all about. So again, the responsibility is the Saturn, and you need to be able to take it back into your own hands and to start to realize that your freedom depends and relies on you and you alone. And when I say your freedom, I'm talking about your real self, the stuff we talked about a little bit earlier on. This is so important. Become conscious of where your authenticity and freedom is being restricted by other people and your or their emotional needs. Now, this is a really big one, because most of the time we cannot really spread our wings. We cannot really become totally true to ourselves if we're worried about how other people are going to feel about us or think about us, what they're going to say about us, if we're going to lose love over this change, all that kind of stuff. And other people doing the same stuff to us. We have to be really, really conscious of how much we allow that to pressurize us, to tie us down, to chain us. The need to be loved, accepted, and approved of are like chains that bind the true self and keep it from emerging. So our need to be validated, our need to be approved of, our need to be loved by other people is toxic as far as Uranus is concerned, and Saturn to a certain degree as well, because Saturn is about being able to look after yourself, be self-sufficient, and not be enabled. And so there's something going on here about being able to break free from that as well. Any positive changes that you could make this year could have a very long-lasting effect, and that's Saturn. You know, the Saturn, anything that has Saturn involved in it can actually go on for a long time beyond the actual transit as well. So hopefully there's a sense of maturity and inner growth, you know, growing up, that kind of thing, and moving to another level of who you are. So these are really, really important things to remember with this particular transit. Not only with this year, it's something to remember and to look at in your natal charts. Everyone look at your Saturn and your Uranus in your natal charts. They may not necessarily be an aspect, but they're constantly talking about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Uranus is always going to be talking about your level of authenticity and your level of freedom and your level of being able to change and move forward. And Saturn is always going to be looking at that part of you that needs to take charge, become authority, become the boss, become the CEO of your own life. These are the really positive things about those two planets that they're trying to teach us. Now, this particular year, they are going to be very, very strong on the level of us having to learn how to integrate these two energies into our lives in some way, because everyone's going to be doing it differently. They're going to have different areas of their life that they're going to be doing it in. People are at all different stages of their growth, all that kind of stuff. But it's really, really important to be able to realize that 2021 could actually be one of those years where you could make some major changes and start to come into your truth, you know, starting to come into your authentic, real, honest self. And you might actually start to feel for the first time in your life that you are in the driver's seat. You're actually starting to take charge of your life. You can see where you're going because you are the one that's actually calling the shots, so to speak. And you are free enough and authentic enough to be able to come into a place of not caring anymore, of trying to be like everybody else, or being a carbon copy of somebody else, or being told what to do, or listening to your mother or father's voice in the back of your head telling you, don't be you, in other words, try to be like everybody else. This could be a great, great month for you, and definitely a great year for you to be able to break free from that.